Welcome to today's CCPI-STEM webcast entitled Transforming Teaching and Learning with AI, a live demonstration for faculty and staff and administrators, which happens to be part 2 in our 4-part AI and STEM education series. My name, as I said before, is Dr. Elizabeth Hawthorne, and it's my pleasure to serve as a co-principal investigator of the Community College President's Initiative in STEM Education, or CCPI-STEM for short. It is my pleasure to serve as the moderator for today's CCPI-Cast. This webcast is being recorded for placement on our website at CCPI-STEM.org, CCPISTEM.org, along with our 17 other CCPI-Cast episodes. The presentation slides and recordings for all episodes are available from our website, and I'll put the direct link in the chat in a moment. Today's slides are already online. If you'd like to download a local copy while we're going through this. The recording will be available in a week to 10 days, so be sure to check the website in that time. It all depends on our video editor. So while we are waiting to get started, if you haven't done so already, please make sure your audio is muted and type your name and affiliation into the Zoom chat box. It would also be helpful if you're a faculty or administrator, dean or VP, or grant writer, but if you've already put your name and affiliation, that's fine. Also, as you think of your questions, please put them in the Zoom chat box. Dr. Blake Urbach will be monitoring the chat, and we'll stop at designated times to answer your questions. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to get started. So this is just a little bit of an infomercial. Like I said before, here is the direct link for listen to previous CCPI-Cast episodes. We have it both as podcasts and webcasts. There are 17 out there. And I just want to let you know the next 2 parts in our CCPI-STEM AI education series. And you can register right from our website under upcoming events on the homepage. So Friday, October 17th, we're going to have a presenter from the National Applied AI Consortium from Miami-Dade College. And then on Friday, November 14th, it'll be our 4th part in our AI and STEM education, and that's developing the blue-collar AI workforce with a great presenter from Sinclair Community College in Ohio. So please register for those if you haven't already. Okay, so it is my pleasure to welcome today's presenter, Dr. John Sands, Professor and Department Chair of Computer Integrated Technologies at Moraine Valley Community College in Illinois. John and I have known each other a long time. I hope that's a good thing for you, John. Let me just read you a little bit about John. Dr. John Sands brings over 37 years of distinguished experience in cybersecurity and information technology education, currently serving as co-PI of the National Cybersecurity Training and Education Center, NSIT, which is an NSFAT National Center. As professor and department chair at Moraine Valley Community College, he has demonstrated exceptional leadership in developing cutting-edge curriculum in cybersecurity, information technology, and now artificial intelligence. Definitely a leader. As director of the NSIT National Faculty Development Academy, John has developed dozens of innovative courses and trained hundreds of educators at both the collegiate and K-12 levels. His course development portfolio includes groundbreaking offerings such as practical applications of AI in the teaching and learning process. And I could go on, but we want to hear from you, John. So at this point, I'm going to just go to the next slide, and then I'll turn it over to you. So we're going to do the live demonstration by John. Please put any questions in the chat box along the way. We'll pause to take those, and then John will leave us about 5 minutes at the end of the CCPI-Cast for any follow-up Q&A, and we'll also launch a poll. Okay, John, so without further ado, please take it over.
All right. Thank you, Beth. So today what I want to do is just share with you some of the things that we are doing in a a national sweep, sort of a 2-day hands-on, in-person workshop teaching teachers how to use AI in the teaching and learning process. So, it's very structured in that we show how, once you start using AI to build a class, that you're going to improve that class in multiple dimensions. So, first of all, you're going to get a better alignment in the class itself. Second, you're going to be able to really create engaging content, which we'll show you. I'll show you some of the things that we're doing with it. You can enhance assessment. And I think most importantly is that you're going to be able to provide students much more individualized and more detailed feedback within the class itself. And I mean, all research, and I've been in education for almost 40 years, but all research basically tells us that if students receive more feedback and more enhanced feedback, in-depth feedback, they tend to do better in classes. They stay in the programs longer, and they feel part of the community, part of the program, and so on. So that's what our goal is in implementing AI in the teaching and learning process. So what I want to show you today is a 2-day hands-on class that we've been traveling around the country offering. So and if you're interested, at the end of this, let me know, because we're going to continue the road trip. I've been to 24 colleges so far across the country. What we look for are hosts in different regions that can host anywhere from 20 to 50 faculty members that are interested in practical uses of AI in the teaching and learning process. And basically what we do is we create a course that has all this content in it. And if you complete the course, and you have to contribute, by the way, if you contribute 4 of the assignments, then we give you access to the entire class, and you can have access to everything that everyone's created within the program itself. Okay, so that's just a little bit about what we've been doing and how it works. So I'm just going to show you one that we're actually doing today here at Chicago State University in Chicago, but we've been all over from Arizona to New Jersey to Florida, Texas, Washington State, and then all over the Midwest as well. In fact, Christian, we were in El Paso earlier this year teaching the class. I think we had about 50 participants in El Paso. So 40, 50 participants at El Paso. So we had a packed room. But what I want to show you today is just what we teach, and then examples of what we expect participants to be able to leave with. So that's the idea with it. So, and I'll just start a little bit with, I'm going to share my screen. And this is the actual course itself. Sort of what it looks like. And you can see just from the cover page itself, I created this with AI. And it may not recognize it, but that's supposed to be me there a little bit in the middle presenting. So AI will even create, graphics that include people that you want, as part of it. But I'm going to show you the modules that we go through. And then I'm going to give you some examples of stuff that we do in each one of these modules. So again, this is a 2-day in-person class that's very hands-on. And we have people actually create content. So what we ask every participant is to think of a class or a project, because they don't necessarily have to all be faculty members. They can be, other staff members. But we want them to think of either a class or a process that they go through, and then to be able to use some of these things in that class or process. So the modules that we go through, we start off with module 1, which basically is just an overview of AI technologies and the concepts behind it. We don't go deep. This isn't a real technical class as far as like understanding algorithms and beams and stuff like that. We don't do that. We go deep enough that you have some idea when we start to talk about generated data and things like that, that you know what we're talking about. And then we give this to you so you can use this in your classes, because we're hoping that teachers take this information and then use it within their classes. And then ultimately that they teach their students how to use some of these things to better prepare them for the workforce. It's very hard to do that, though, if our teachers don't know how to use these things. And that's what we're finding is that, this is a big learning curve for a lot of the teachers. But once they've gone through this, they're much more likely to be able to turn around and be able to teach their students how to do the same types of things. So all of this material is created with AI. So let me show you, this is what some of it looks like. So we went into rationale for AI. All right. We actually build all of these things in AI. So all this stuff is built in AI. And I don't know how many of you know how to do this, but any of you know how to actually put this into your Canvas or your LMS pages. So I will tell you, on average, I would say 80% of the participants that attend our workshops really don't know how to do this. How do I actually build something in AI? And then how do I put it into a page so that page in Canvas is interactive and the students don't have to leave the page. So we get into those types of things also, which aren't necessarily AI, but they're definitely important if you want to implement AI content in your courses. So we show how to create iframes and what an iframe is, and then we have you build content and then put them in your courses using iframes. So for you that don't know what an iframe is, most LMSs will not let you create active code and put it into a page of your LMS. And you can understand why, right? Putting active code into a page would really threaten and create vulnerabilities within your LMS system. So all of the LMS systems will say, no, that's not, we're not, they'll let you paste it in, and then we go to run it, they wipe it, they clean it out, right? But what you can do is you can run that code outside, and then you can run like a mini browser on your page. And that's what an iframe is. An iframe is like a browser window on your page in Canvas. And we show you how to actually set that up. We walk you through the process. And then we have you actually do that as part of the class. So we'll have people create content and then show them how to run that content in a page using iframes. So just to give you a feel, and all these things are interactive now. So this is what your curriculum and your content can start to look like if you're using AI to generate it. And then we'll walk through and show teachers how to actually build content like this. Okay. So just wanted to show you sort of where we go with some of this. But all of the content in here is built with AI, and we give you all of it and examples of it and so on. But let's just walk you down through what we do. So in chapter 2, we basically go through and introduce teachers to a multitude of different tools. So, most people that take the class, they sort of know what an LLM is. We go a little deeper into what they are. And then we go in and show them how to use each of the major LLMs. And we show them 6 major LLMs that we use throughout the class. So most people have used ChatGPT. So we go in and talk about what ChatGPT is. And then we have a little tutor, and you can see all this is AI generated. All right, and I'm not going to go, we don't have time to go through all of this today, but that's what we basically do within the class itself. And then we have a little tutorial on how to use some specific things in this case on ChatGPT to show how it's different than some of the others. And then we even give you your own navigation page. So if you're going to go on ChatGPT, you can go around and click on this and it tells you what the different things do. So we create that for each one of the LLMs that we teach in the class. So when you leave, you have sort of a little tutorial about each one of these, and you sort of have an idea, and you've used them in class. So now you're going to know why you might want to use one over the other. So the ones that we cover are ChatGPT, Claude. And by the way, Claude has worked with us. So everyone that sits through our classes now, we are giving a free 90-day license to the professional version of Claude, which is a really powerful tool. Most of the stuff I've built here is using Anthropic's Claude. And I'll show you some examples of stuff that we use with it and so on, right? Now, we also use Microsoft Copilot, and we have a little tutorial on that. We talk about what DeepSeek is and what that's all about. And we also talk about being careful if you're using DeepSeek, what kind of things you need to worry about. We're a big Google house, so we go into Gemini and all the Google products. And then we get into Grok, and then we end up with Perplexity. So within 2 days, you've used all of those different LLMs, and you have a general understanding of the difference between them, what they cost, how the subscriptions work, how much you can use with the free subscriptions, what are the educational options that are out there, all that kind of stuff. So we want this to be very practical. So when you leave with those kind of things. And then what we do is at the very bottom, we find websites out there that do a continuous comparison of these. Because every class that we teach, people are like, can you tell us, which one of these should we subscribe to? What are the best ones? And, what do you use which ones for and so on? Well, let me tell you, that changes on a weekly basis. Gemini just came out with all these new crazy things this week that were now integrated into the course. So what we prefer to do is just point you out to these websites that monitor them daily, and they will talk about what the latest and greatest things are, how the prices have changed, and so on. And then we even talk about some of the tricks that you need to go out there and search for those discounts in education, because they're not going to be out there obvious, right? We show you how to sort of look that information up, because there's lots of great deals out there as educators that we can get on all the different tools that we teach within the class itself. Okay, so that's second part of the class. Then we do what every AI course does, and we go into the art of building effective prompts. And I'm going to demonstrate some of these today to you. So how do you tell these devices are these models how to build things for you. The problem is, and I've sat through every day I get up, I try to learn more about AI and the new things that are coming out and so on. But I've probably taken 5 courses in AI prompting. Everyone's a little bit different. They each have their different methodologies and so on. So what we try to do is to give you a variety of different techniques and methods for writing prompts, because there is an art to writing prompts. So we go through and try to try to have you leave with some good knowledge on how to write prompts. And then we also talk about things like token limitations and, what the Beam algorithm is and how you can better engineer prompts so you get more content without running out of processing capabilities. Because you've probably all experienced where you go out and you have it build something for you and it says, you're out of tokens. You have to come back in the next day or 5 hours or whatever it happens to be because you've run out of processing power. So we show you how to deal with that and how to get around those things. Okay. And then here is the meat of the course. We spend most of the 2 days in this course. Okay. In this portion of the course. So we start off with, how do you create a syllabus with AI? All right. And we sort of go through and show you examples of how to train AI to do things. So let me show you just an example how you can train AI to do things. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT here for a second. So has everyone trained AI? Do you understand what it means to train AI? So I want to go through today and just show you a practical example of how you can train AI, right? So I wanted to come up with a fun example for the class and show you the power of AI, right? So I put this prompt in right here. I said, I want to create a coloring book for my grandson using his image, and his name is Raymond, and his grandmother, my wife, who he calls Nana, using the uploaded pictures to create a sketch of Nana. So I'm going to create a coloring book when I get done that's going to be of Nana and Raymond and all the things that they did this week when he spent the week with us, right? So the very first thing I did is I uploaded the picture of my wife, and then you can see it creates an image of my wife. Now, I didn't do anything with Raymond. I didn't do anything with my dog, so I have no idea what they look like, but look at all the things it learned. It learned that they have Buckingham Fountain behind them right here, right? And they even picked up the kind of clothes she's wearing and tried to mimic and generate the type of clothes she's wearing, right? Well, now I need to teach it what Raymond looks like, because I want, in the coloring book, I want Raymond's image. So I uploaded a couple pictures of Raymond. So here's my grandson Raymond, and I gave some different, poses and different ages so it could figure out what he looks like, so it could actually now create images of Raymond. And here we go. So now that looks like Raymond, that looks like my wife, and look, it even has the shirt that he's wearing in one of these pictures. Now it's a variation, because remember, this is generative AI. It's going to take something and create something new from that. So they see he has a little lion shirt on, and it's like, all right, well, let's put a lion shirt on him. All right. It still doesn't know what my dog looks like. So I had to go in and I had to show a picture of my dog. And now now it has what my dog looks like. And if you take a look at my dog up here, you can see that's a pretty good image of my dog, right? All right, so that's sort of cool. I learned all these. I trained it what all these 3 characters should look like. But now what the power is I can say, okay, you know what Nana looks like. You know what Raymond looks like. You know what Oliver looks like. Now let's create a coloring book of all the things they did that week, right? So now what I can do is I can just go and say, let's create an image of them sitting on a gigantic chair in the park, right? And it will go in and create its own new image now of them sitting in the park. And now I can have it do anything, right? Like I can say, well, you can't do anything, because I said, can we do a picture when they're at Disney and he's with Winnie the Pooh? It comes back and says, we can't do that one because that is copyrighted material. So the image of Winnie the Pooh can't be used, right? So it will not do that. So there are certain things that will come back and say, nah, can't do that, right? So I went on, I said, okay, well, let's have them at a park and Raymond going down a slide. Well, there's what it generated. Look what it did. It remembered that I put a bear in there. I didn't ask for that bear. So it remembered that there was a bear here. So put a bear in the next one. So sometimes you're going to get things that are unexpected because you've taught it, from things that you've given it, and it thinks it needs to use those things in what it's building, right? But from there on out, I can just give it words now. I can just say, all right, let's take her glasses off. So I took the glasses off my wife, right? Then I was like, okay, let's have them at a parade. So now it has them at a parade, right? And my grandson happens to like heavy equipment. So I was like, they went and they watched heavy equipment building a parking lot. So I was like, create a picture of heavy equipment building a parking lot. Look at it built. And then they were in the yard blowing bubbles. All right, let's have another picture of the two of them in a yard blowing bubbles, right? Or having ice cream or whatever they were doing that whole day. And then it created the entire coloring book for me of each of the things they did during that day. And then it can also create a cover with a photo quality cover for it. But now we have a custom coloring book for my grandson of all the things he did with his grandmother on the week that they spent with us. But more importantly, it shows you how you can train AI. And some of the things you can do in training AI, you just won't believe it. I teach an electronics class. I could train it what a board looks like, what a breadboard looks like, and what its purpose is. And now it can replicate it in my course anywhere I want it. I taught it 35 different components that I teach in that class. It knows all 35 of them now. It knows their symbol, what they look like in a picture. It even knows now how to put them in a circuit. And now I can create activities where it's actually building those activities for you. But that's what it means to train AI. Training AI means you're going to give it examples and you're going to give it movies maybe and URLs or whatever to get what you're ultimately looking for, right? So if we go back to what we do in this course, the first thing we have them do is to create a syllabus. Now, I don't know about you, but most of my students do not like reading long documents, right? It's just human nature. And if you take a syllabus that's 5 or 6 pages and you say, read the syllabus, in most cases, they're probably not going to read everything, right? So what we've come up with was the idea of this interactive syllabus. And we use this at our college and our department. And now all of our faculty have this access to this interactive syllabus. So we talk about how do you build it. So we show them how to build the prompt. And then we show them an example of what an interactive syllabus looks like. So now we can go in and with this one, we can actually print out a PDF of it, but students can actually go to a specific part of that syllabus without having to read through the whole thing. And we can put like a drop-down menu, and we even showed a code that's used that's generated to do this. But this is what an interactive syllabus now looks like. So now a student can go right to the instructor or registration information, can go right to the course information, can go right to the schedule. So they don't have to flip page through page looking through all this text. They can jump right to what they want, right? And this is an interactive one that we use with all of our classes. Any other benefits of this? Yes, our students are more likely to use this, right? Because they can jump right to things that they want to, and it's interactive. I'm a department chair. How many department chairs out there? How many of you get calls every semester from either a snarky student or their parents and says, and I have some really good adjunct faculty members that work in the field that are excellent teachers and really know the content. But, they don't want to be bothered by updating their syllabus. Even though we tell them you have to update your syllabus, they don't do it, right? So we give them the syllabus and it has 2023 on it. They didn't update the date. They didn't update the dates of the assignments and so on, right? Well, by creating a prompt that automates this process, it updates for us automatically. It will go in and look for those dates. I can actually write the script. So now I can take any syllabus from any class and it will automatically update it to this semester. That eliminates all those calls now. It makes our faculty look better. And we get more satisfaction from our students because they think this is the latest. Someone has gone through and updated the latest and greatest dates on here and so on. But even just using the simple thing like updating your syllabus and making it interactive, I think improves the teaching and learning process. And that's just a tiny little thing you can do, right? If we go back, other things that we get into then is we go through how do you actually prepare and create content for a class, right? Well, after you have a syllabus, the next thing you're going to start to do is you're going to start to go in and build lesson plans. So we teach teachers how to actually go in and build a comprehensive lesson plan. And we have every participant go in and actually build a lesson plan. And we give them everything they need to do that. So we give them the prompt, we walk them through the process, and then they can build that lesson plan, right? And then from there, we have them build a detailed outline for their students, right? Fairly easy to do. And by the way, one of the things that we teach in the class is when you have AI create something for you, it's yours. It's your responsibility to go in and make sure that it has the things it's supposed to have in there. You are the one that has to train it on what are the objectives in this lesson? What are the terms that we're going to teach in this lesson and so on. So we show you sort of a template of what things you need to provide for it. if you want to get good results, right? And then it's something that you built with AI's help in generating it, right? And we go through that process. So here's just a, example of the process we go through. And then here is a lesson plan outline. So it has the learning objectives, it has the key concepts, has the key terms, and then it has the full outline of what we're going to do throughout this class that can be expanded. But look at the flow of this now. And now you're going to have every single lesson look the same, have the same look and feel. And you're hitting on all of these things in each class. And now students know where to look for the learning objectives. They know where to look for the key concepts. They know where to look for the key terms and so on. And you end up with a class that has a much more polished look and feel and is much more user-friendly to the students themselves. And every one of our participants creates a lesson plan. And some of the lesson plans are out. I mean, they are outstanding what they created. And then the student outline, which is for the students of what we're going to cover within the class itself. Okay. But another example of what we do, and then, potential activities we're going to do within the class and so on. But I'll create one of these here in a second to show you how we do this. Okay. Where else do we go with the class though? Because I just want to show you what other kind of things, if you'd like us to teach this class for you, what other kind of things are your teachers going to learn how to do? All right. Well, we go through and we teach them how to now take that
Absolutely. I can take them over though if you want to.
Oh, yeah. But we teach them how to take that lesson plan now and detailed outline and actually create a study guide. So in my case, the study guide now replaces the textbook. I let students still buy a textbook if they want it, but they don't need to because my study guide is detailed enough. It's as detailed as the chapter in the book itself, right? And we show special tools on how to do the special publishing tools and so on that they can use to actually create a lesson plan. And you can see these are examples of things in a lesson plan that we can put in that are going to be as good as, if not better than most things you're going to find in a textbook. And then my favorite part is we go in and show them, all right, how do I create, let's say graphical materials that that we can use to teach certain concepts. They say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So let's show you some of the things. And Christian, you might recognize some of these because some of these were from the people from your class that attended our session. But let's show you an example of some of the things that they've built here. So here are AI generated instructional materials. So let's show you some of these. Graphical instructional materials, I should say. So first of all, a lot of teachers don't even know what these things are, right? They just use a textbook their whole life. They've never created something like this. So we talk about, well, what are the kind of things that you could create to teach a concept? Well, we could create a mind map, and we'll show them what a mind map is and how they can create one. An illustration, a timeline, a map. So first thing we want is everyone to understand, what are we talking about when we're talking about instructional graphical materials, right? And we walk them through each one of these and we start to show them examples. And by the way, we show them tools that will enable them to use special AI tools to create those specific things, okay? And then look what they've produced in this class. So, and remember, we have people from across the curriculum in this class. So here's what a nurse created. So a nurse wanted something to teach students. They're talking about taking blood pressure and they're going through systolic and diastolic blood. I don't know anything about this. I'm not a nurse, right? But we sat down and we helped her build this. So a nurse in our class created this image, right? Then we had a chemistry teacher that was talking about in that lessons on the timeline of when some of these elements were created. So he was able to build a simple timeline that he could put in. Now I had to squeeze it in here, but in their course, this would be a lot larger, right? But it showed a timeline of when these different elements were. There was something in his course where we wanted them to understand how these things were dependent on one another. Then we had a car brake mechanic use a similar tool to show what are the steps in replacing brakes. What are the key steps that we were going to go through in this lesson in teaching you how to do brakes? And then here's one everyone can relate to. Here's one of our history teachers. I think Prince George, it was someone from Prince George that did this one when we were out there earlier this year. But they wanted a map of the major battles, Civil War battles and the casualties and so on. So someone in the class created this. I mean, wouldn't it be great to have, I mean, imagine having an illustrator that does this for you at your fingertips. And that's what AI basically does for you. Then look, we had a heating and air conditioning person do simple parts of a heating and air conditioning unit. I think this was one of the best ones. We had a business teacher that wanted a poster that talked about what are the different types of businesses in the United States, right? So we have sole proprietorships, partnerships, corporations, LLCs, cooperatives, and franchises. Well, you have to decide which one you want when you're forming a business. What's going to make you decide which one? Well, think the variables like liabilities, taxes, formative difficulty, ownership, example businesses, and those are just examples. But he created a chart now that he can use in that lesson that he can have students use in an assignment, right? Some of you might recognize this from IT, right? All the different USB ports, right? And what the interfaces look like for USB. So one of the IT teachers did that. Look at this, English teacher. An English teacher did a nice little storyboard of what are the steps in the writing process, right? Our English teachers have been the most imaginative and done some of the best work. I'll have to show you some of the other work that they've done. But they're usually ones that have the most opposition to this. And when they see what it can do, they are the ones that are the most creative and have added to this class more than anyone else. So we'll show you some other examples. But a chemistry teacher, this one is not actually working. What this one did, this one showed, this one was a GIF actually, and it would show you clicked on these buttons and it would show the development of the periodic table from the very beginning to today's periodic table. And what were the stages we went through as we discovered more elements and so on. And as we started adding things like atomic weight and all those things, how did the table change and so on. So, add a little history and interest to what this periodic table is and how it worked and how it was developed over the years. Look at a nursing student. A nursing teacher. A nursing teacher did picture of the hand, right? And all the bones in the hand. One of my favorites, right? We had our cooking people that teach our chef course, our chef classes. And I love this one though, because a lot of imagination in this one. And then automotive, they did something breaking down with how different oils work. Like here's someone in our an IT person showing what VLANs were, and this looks as good as anything in any like Cisco book or other book. Look at another English teacher did. This is a great little tool. Look at it, just showing the different types of nouns in English grammar, and then examples of each one of those. Right. Look at someone in the business showing a illustration of how M1 is calculated, right, in economics. Another same English teacher did verbs, same way. And then last week, we had so much fun because they did a whole thing on Hamlet. But look at what one of the teachers did in Hamlet. They created this whole poster, and then they did an entire thing that went along with each phase because they were studying Shakespeare's plays, but each of the characters and so on. And the stuff they ended up with, that lesson they produced, they said they had never had the ability to produce the kind of things that they could do within 2 days in building one lesson on something like Hamlet, right? And that's what the power of this, really is. So those are just examples of graphic things that we can do, right?
Hey, John, we have a couple questions in the chat. Is
Okay.
this a good time to pause?
Yeah, let's answer that. Yep.
Okay, so Tony just wanted to make a comment about the Civil War battles, that it needs a little proofreading. And I responded that's why human oversight is very important, right? Yeah. So humans always got to check that. Yes. And he also wants to know when the courses, when you're on this countrywide tour, when will you list some of the dates and where you'll be, or a link to register?
Where we publish them. And I'll also put the invitation out there. If you have a need for this and you would want to host one of these, we need a host school. We don't pay anything for hosting it. You have to volunteer to use your labs and so on. And we need anywhere from 20 to 50 teachers. But we'll come out and actually teach it in your region. Like we were just in Louisiana last week, and 4 of the colleges got together. And one of them hosted it. So we had people from Grambling and in Bossier Parish Community College, Southern, and so on, all the schools in that area. And we all came together. We had 40 teachers in the classroom, and we went through this together. But if you're interested in hosting one of these, we do have funding from organizations like Microsoft and NSF and others that in most cases, the instruction is free, but you have to host it and you have to help us promote it within your region. But we also post ones that are held in your region if you just want to attend one that's in your area. And I'll show you where actually I can show you this right now. The Insight Center is where we publish these. It's a national center, and you can just go to their events calendar, and we'll list all of the courses here. So, and if you look at, we're just wrapping these up for the summer. We did 20 some workshops over the summer, but if you look at the previous, oh, I went the wrong way. All the past, we did these all over the place. So you can see this is the course here. And probably every other week we offered one of these. So we call this one Implications of Artificial Intelligence for Educators. And if you go back month through month, we probably have offered 4 or 5 each month. And we have a team of instructors, and we're looking to expand that team. So if you'd be interested in, being a trainer in this, we would be more than happy to, to have you come in and act as an assistant instructor first, and then maybe run some of these classes yourself. But if you attend these classes, we give you everything. You get the entire Canvas course if you contribute to the class. So you do have to contribute, and here's how we use things for contributions. So so that's an example of some of the things that we create. How many of you use flashcards in your class?
Hang on 1 second, John. We have one more question from Melanie. What is the images that you have shown generated through AI? Are they accessible? Would they pass the ADA standard? Like if somebody is...
Yeah, great question. Yeah. So what you can do is you can have AI create the image, and then you can give AI instructions to make it APA, and it will give you all that's necessary to do that. So AI will also assist you in that process, because that's a great question. And that's one of the things we've had a lot of the teachers and the people responsible for curriculum development attend. And that is a really powerful tool that helps you do that. Okay. Yeah, I like showing this one as well. Let me just show you this one real quick. So, when we talk about a mind map, how many of you use videos in your classes? Any is have problems that you want to teach something at the 1 minute mark, and then the 5 minute mark, and so on, or you want students to break down and go into the different aspects that you're teaching? Well, one of the things we do is we show you can use a tool to do that. Any has used Mapify? So let's show you what AI at a power, just in a live demo, what it can do for you. Okay, what I can actually do here is I can go out and get a YouTube video. So I have a YouTube video right here. So I went to YouTube. This YouTube is teaching a topic in IT, right? I can have it go out to YouTube and create a mind map of that entire video, and now I can put it in my class as a mind map. So watch what this thing does. It's going to take a second here. But not only will it do that, it will break it down minute by minute, what's broken up by topic and how it breaks into each topic, each subtopic and concept. But then I can click on that topic, and it will bring me right to that point in the video. I don't have to hunt for that point in the video. So look how fast it's doing this. So this particular video is on network firewalls, next generation capabilities. Look how fast it's going through this video and breaking it down part by part in the video. And by the way, I can go in and modify this any way I want. I can add branches, take branches away. I can modify the text, whatever. But then as a student or as an instructor, when this is done, I can go right to that section in the video. So it's almost done here. And then I can also turn this into a PowerPoint. I can turn this into a lesson plan. I can turn it into whatever. I can make a quiz out of it. All kinds of special capabilities I can do once I've created this mind map. And I can also change what it looks like. So here we go. Almost done. This was like a 18-minute video, by the way, and it did that quickly with an 18-minute video. But I can go and change the way it looks, so I can change its format. If I want it more linear or whatever, I can do that. I can modify things. But the real power to me is I can go right into a topic. So let me bring this up where you can see the topics a little better. And I can go right to a specific topic, click on that, and it will open the video right at that point. Come on. We're probably killing this thing with our Zoom link going on, connection to this, and it having going out to get a video. So, why didn't that work? That's the danger of a live demo. It's probably just a time delay right now, but you can basically click into any one of these points and it will jump in. That's what these are right here. These are links that go into the times. You can go and try this for free. There's a free version of Mapify out there. And you can actually, and by the way, this doesn't have to be YouTube videos. This could be your lectures, right? Or it could be any other source of videos that you have that you use in your class, right? But this would be an example of how you could put a mind map in the class that goes through. And I wonder why this isn't launching. That's really unusual. We're probably killing this thing right now here with sharing it and everything else. But all right. And it might be because I'm sharing it. I don't know. But going back, okay, let's show you the other stuff that we have teachers do. So what are other kind of things are you going to be able to do out of this class? Well, you're going to be able to go in and create activities. Okay. So when we talk about learning activities, well, what do we mean by learning activities? Well, again, we try to go through and emphasize, what is a learning activity? So like a research paper or a lab exercise or a team project, or one of the things this is great at is case studies. Oh my God. Because I love to use threaded case studies in my classes, right? I want students to be able to apply to things I'm talking about in a real life environment, right? So let me tell you, one of the case studies I created, we have a lot of food packaging companies in our area, and I'm teaching cybersecurity, right? So I had to go out there and examine 6 companies in our district that do food processing, right? And then I had to make up a fictitious company that we could now use as a threaded case study that was based on all of major elements of those companies in our district. And I could show you the case study. It is unbelievable, the detail that it gives you and so on. I can show you here in a second. But here are examples. So look, here it creates a team project, right? So a sample interactive team project, and there's steps in this that they have to go through. And it even gives you a rubric to grade it, right? But we give examples of each of these. So lab exercises, a research paper, and I can show you, we're going to run out of time to do some of these, but we can show you how it can help you write a research paper assignment and then create a rubric for that. And then it can even help you grade that paper. I don't know if people have seen this, but let me demonstrate this one to you real quick. So right now, if I go to files in this class, okay, I had it. One of our English teachers at Moraine has a writing assignment, all right, that she wanted AI to clean up and make it a little better than what it was. So here's what she created. So I'll download this one and show it to you real quick. All right, so AI helped her create this. So this is the first writing class at our college, and they have to do 5 papers and then a final paper. But one of the papers is a descriptive essay. So it helped her create a really well-designed assignment. So look, it's an English assignment, descriptive paper. So the overview is they have to go in and write an essay about the city of Chicago. We live outside the city of Chicago, right? Here are some of the specifics about it, what the length was, the format, so on. The focus areas, what should students focus on when they're writing this paper? So the physical characteristics of the city, and it gets into detail on that. The cultural aspects, the sensory details, the organizations, and perspective, right? So it goes in and sort of says, these are the things we want you to focus on, and you should try to include within the paper itself. And then these are just different requirements. She's like, let's also put this in here as well. So she wanted to have a catchy title, right? You're a writer, you should be able to write a catchy title so people want to read the paper, right? A strong introduction, connecting sentences, quality structure, descriptive language, powerful conclusion, so on, right? And then some of the specific requirements, and then the grading criteria, right? So we basically helped her build this, and now she has all 5 of these in a similar format. But now what we can do is we can take this and we can go to one of our AI tools. So I'll go to Claude as an example. And I'll say, And I'm just going to make this, I would write this prompt much more detailed, but I just want to show you just a live example of this. But I'm going to say, use the uploaded assignment to create a rubric with, let's say, 5 competency levels, right? Everyone knows a rubric has competency levels, right? Excellent, very good, good, whatever, right? The competency level, and then the things that it's going to measure it on, right? All right. And then I'll say, I'll just leave it at that, just to show you what it can do at that power. So I'm going to paste this paper up there. And I'm going to have it go ahead and create a rubric now. Now, we all have created rubrics over our career, right? And you know how hard it is to write a really good rubric, right? So let's show you what it does. Okay, so it created exemplary profit. We'll come back and take a look at this when it's done.
And while that's doing, we have another question from Tony.
Okay.
Can you use AI to gauge the extent to which a student used AI to write the essay about Chicago? Remember, we used to have turnitin.com?
And the answer is yes, you can. And we get into teaching the whole idea. Are you familiar with the concepts of perplexity and burstiness? Anyone heard of those terms? Okay, so when AI writes, it writes based on algorithmic or mathematical formulas, right? So let's just talk about burstiness first of all. When a human writes, one of the problems with humans is they're inconsistent. They're inconsistent in writing sentences. So they may have short sentences and then run-on sentences and so on, right? And that's, it's a natural way that humans write, right? AI does not do that. AI comes up with a formula on how to actually build a sentence, right? So it can actually measure something we call burstiness. And burstiness is a good indicator. Did the machine write it or did a human write it, right? And it can actually give us a burstiness score. So when I ever go in and assign something, and I can even say where are questionable levels of burstiness, because if it has very low level of burstiness, in other words, everything's formulated really well, I have a very high chance that was generated by AI, right? However, a good student that really is technically savvy could do what? They could go in and say, create this paper for me and use a very low level of burstiness, right? I'm sorry, a high level of burstiness. And now it's going to be very difficult to detect that. Now, there are other things that we can do to detect that, but that's one way. There's also something called perplexity. And what perplexity is all about is when the large language models creates things, it does it mathematically also, and it tries to pick the perfect words to create sentences, right? That's referred to as perplexity. Humans don't do that. As we're writing, we have certain words that we use over and over again. We don't always try to use the perfect word for what we're doing, right? Well, we can actually use computers and AI to measure that perplexity, right? Not only can you do that, but you can give it samples of your student writing, have it measure the perplexity, and it will also notice patterns in perplexity, like what words do they use more often than others, what types of words they use as tools within their writing. And it can analyze, does the perplexity match their style, or is this AI generated? Now, there are 3 other technologies that we can use that we talk about in the class in trying to detect AI generated content. I don't want to go into them in great detail here because it would take too long. But we go into that in the class. We go into using those tools. But the last thing I should tell you, though, none of them are perfect, though, because a technically astute student can get around almost all of those. Okay. All right. Answer your question. Any follow up on that, or you get it? Okay. One of the things that, yeah. Question? Okay. One of the nice things about Claude, if you haven't used it, is that it creates what are called artifacts. So I can actually take this thing that it produced and I can publish it. And then I can go in and actually see it standalone. So I can go in and actually, so here is the rubric it created for me. And those are called artifacts. And there are several LLMs now that actually create the artifacts for you. Okay, and now what we're teaching people in the class is how do you take those artifacts and put it in a repository for yourself so you can use them later. So we have everyone create a GitHub repository. So now everything that they create, they can now save and then embed it in their courses as they start to build their courses. Okay. But look at this rubric. Now, again, if you create this rubric, it's up to you to go through and make sure it reflects what you want to do in your grading of this assignment. And you may need to go also through it and proofread it and so on. But it gives you a nice head start in building a pretty substantial rubric, right? It would take you a full day to do this rubric at this level, right? Now, could I use this rubric to grade a student's paper? What do you think? Of course I can, right? So I could go back to Claude, right? And now I can say, use this rubric to grade the following student paper. Now, we want to make sure we're not putting students' names on here or any identifying information about students, right? But it can actually go through it. You might want to put like an identifier or whatever, or even better, we could teach you how to run this on your own machine. So it's not in the cloud and you're not sharing this information with others, right? It's on your own machine. But what I can do now is I can go and get an assignment, a student assignment. Let's see, I think I have one here. There it is. So here's an assignment. Now I can take this assignment, go back to Claude. I can paste this assignment in. And then I can do things like provide detailed feedback for the student, which you're going to use then and determine what kind of things you want to provide, right? And maybe provide 5 suggestions on how to improve their writing. Right, and let's have it do it. So here we go. So now it takes this student's paper. I could show you what the paper looked like, by the way. And it's going to use the rubric to actually grade this paper. And I use it to do labs now. So, my students have to do like 17 labs. And I have it go through and it gives me really good feedback because I find out what are the strengths and weaknesses of each student. What are the things I need to focus on more? What are the things I need to emphasize better in the class? And then even things like, what did I miss? Are there things that I missed in this assignment that I should have done, right? So look at the feedback this thing produces. And we'll publish this here when it's done.
John, the question, do you give this complete feedback document to the student? And if you do you think they go through all of it?
All right. So my answer is no, I don't. And part of it is the policies of your class and the policies of your institution. So what does your institution want you to do with this? And do they want you even to use this, by the way? Because some institutions still at this point are a little leery about letting you use AI to help you assess student grade. I will make the argument that I couldn't do this level of, my students are doing 17 papers, right? 17 lab assignments. I have 25 students in a class, right? And I'm teaching 5 classes. There is no way I could do this level of feedback for every single student. And every research shows that the better feedback they get, the better they do in the class, the more likely they're going to stay in the class and so on, right? So I do take things out of here that, especially things that are personal feedback to that student that can specifically help them on certain things. But the answer to that question is it really depends on your policy that you want to implement and your policy of your institution. Because there are some institutions right now that are saying, no, we don't want you using AI yet to do this kind of stuff, right? I would argue that you're missing something if you don't do it. But I understand why they're leery, because this is, we're in uncharted areas right now, to be totally honest. But look at this feedback for this one student. So it goes into each area, gives them a score, and tells them what it's based on. What were their strengths and areas of improvement for content and then it goes into descriptive language, and then it goes into organization and structure, and then it goes into focus area covered, and then grammar and so on, based on the rubric that we did, right? And now it gives me some ideas of how I could grade this and what I could base those grades on, and then what kind of feedback I could potentially give the student on this assignment, right? In my case, I don't give the student the entire thing. I give them things I think will help that individual student, because they're like everyone else. The more you give them isn't necessarily better, right? I want to give them the things I think are going to make the greatest difference in improving their skills and whatever they're learning in that activity, right? So just giving them a lot doesn't mean they're going to get more out of it. My opinion, I don't think they are going to get more out of it. I think they're going to get more out of it if you focus on individual students and how that individual student might improve with the feedback that you give them. Okay. So I went over my time a little bit. Sorry about that, but I thought this was sort of an important area to cover. And we didn't even get into the other things that we cover. And there's a whole bunch of other things we do in the class and assessment. We show you how to have a virtual person come in, like we have George Washington come in, and the students can interview George Washington about a specific battle, or what was his favorite general, or whatever, or have Shakespeare come in and talk about, can you explain the message behind this play or whatever? And someone can actually generate a person based on whatever content you give it that can actually now interface with your students directly, right? But it's so much fun, and there's so many things you can do. Your imagination is the only thing that limits you on how you can use this to improve instruction in the classroom.
Great. Thank you, John. I wish we had more time for you to keep showing us all this new tools that we have at our fingertips, us instructors. So we had a question in the chat. Somebody's very interested in signing up for your course. Blake and I tried to go out to the Insight site to find what you showed. We didn't get the right page. So if you could just copy that link and put it in the chat, and then we'll have the upcoming events for your course. And while you're doing that, I'm going to launch the poll. So if everybody can take a few minutes to fill out the poll, it's very helpful for us to keep improving and making sure we give you what you need in our next series for the spring. And this also, those of you who are PIs or co-PIs of ATE grants, NSF grants, this feeds into our annual report.
And there's my email if you want it. If you'd like to host a class, let us know. If we have the funding and it works in the schedule, we can work a schedule out with you. We'd be more than happy to work with you.
So we're filling out the poll. I don't see any other chat questions right now. I think my key takeaway from here is using ChatGPT or some other tool to give me feedback that I can quickly, so I can parse through and pass along to the student. That's something new that I took away from your presentation. Was that ChatGPT that you uploaded that to, or was that a different LLM? Is that Claude? Maybe
that was Claude, yeah. But Perplexity does, ChatGPT will do it. It's sort of fun to compare them, because some are more harsh on the students than others, and they interpret the rubric different than others. So yeah, it's sort of fun to do stuff like that.
So Tony's saying he doesn't see your courses at that link that you shared.
Really? They're the ones that are listed as implications of artificial intelligence for instructors. I took it right from that. Let me make sure I put the right one up there.
I see it now. Thanks.
Okay.
Good, Tony. Thank you. Okay, we have a minute. Any other last questions for John? Because he's actually going to go teach this course right after we hang up with him, right?
I am.
With your colleague from Brookdale Community College.
Exactly.
All right. Tyson is clapping. We got a thank you from Christian. We'll leave the poll open. We really appreciate your feedback. And we'll have this recording posted on the website, and CCPI-STEM.org, in about a week to 10 days. So you can come back. We do not we don't send you the link. If you registered, you'll have to come back. Well, thank you, Tony. Excellent webinar. There you go, John.
Thank you.
You earned a drink next time I see you at the ATEPI conference.
There we go. couple weeks away.
Yeah. Okay, great primer and opportunity to learn more. Thank you. You rock. Okay, that's from Stu. You rock, John.
All right.
Fantastic. Okay. I'm going. It looks like we have 100% participation. I'm going to end the poll. I'll share the results quickly, and then I have top of the hour here. Let's see. It looks like, look at all those 4s and 5s you got, John. Look at that.
Nice. Yep.
Would you recommend the recording to someone else? Number 2, intend to share resources. 4s and 5s. Fantastic. Can I apply what I learned at this sippy cast in my professional role? Beautiful. 4s and 5s mostly. On par with expectations, 4s and 5s. Okay. And then what are your top takeaways? So, okay. All right, John.
All right.
I look forward to seeing you again. And thank you very much for your time and expertise. Always a pleasure, John.
All right. Thank you. Thanks,
Okay,
everyone.
everybody have a good weekend.